We'll now open the meeting to September 5th, 2024.
Ryan Dees.
Here.
Martin Howe.
Present.
Will Hyman.
Present.
Mark Jackson.
Here.
Wayne Ward.
Here.
Vice Mayor Riffle.
Here.
And Mayor Malfejet.
Here.
This evening we have our prayer and pledge by Mayor Malfejet.
Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of the community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions and continue to remind us that all that we do here this evening and all that we accomplish is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of your name, and for the service of humanity. We ask these in your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This evening we have a couple special presentations. Davis Weaver representatives, are anybody present? No. Okay, Vice Mayor,
Let's do after the public comment.
after public comment. Petitions, communications, and public hearings. Michael Fox, 312 Point Street, wishes to address council concerning the demo of 308 Point Street.
Good evening, honorable council members. I stand before you this evening as a concerned citizen and resident of 312 Point Street, directly neighboring the property of 308 Point Street. I would like to express my strong desire for your approval to proceed with the demolition of the structure located at 308 Point Street. As a father of 3 young boys, I share serious concerns about the safety of this property as it poses to my family and our community. The presence of unmaintained asbestos is a ticking time bomb, threatening the health of my family and fellow neighbors. The structure attracts trespassers, creating danger not only to the community, but to those entering the building illegally. The risk of uncontrolled collapse threatens significant damage to my property, and the risk of a fire cannot be understated. My family watched the flames of the South Howard Street flat fire that, as reported by 5 News, cost almost $500,000 worth of damage. 7 properties damaged, 3 were total losses, 5 vehicles destroyed. And with the current drought situation in Harrison County as categorized as severe to extreme, these worries are even heightened higher. So I passionately urge you to approve the demolition of this structure. The action will demonstratively improve public health and safety, while also enhancing the quality of life for all residents in our community. I thank you for your time and consideration.
Just to let you know, sir, I'm looking at an asbestos abatement and demolition of 2 structures, 649 Mulberry and 308 Point Street. It's coming down.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Jerry Riffle, 313 Harrison Street, wishes to address council.
Senior.
Just like to echo what Mike said, that the place is bad for the people coming around. You got homeless coming in and out. You got groundhogs living underneath the place. Cats are getting tore up. It's been an eyesore for 14, 15 years that I've been around that area. He's been the eyesore. And it's not going to get any better leaving it sitting any longer, like we all know we've done before. So it's got to come down. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all the petitions. Vice Mayor Riffle.
So we've got a special presentation tonight. The city of Clarksburg presenting this certificate to Jordan Riffle in recognition of becoming 3rd grade class president at Meadowford Elementary School. Thank you for leading your 3rd grade class, your class with honor and pride. We're proud of you.
Give him the sunglasses back. Give him the sunglasses.
All right.
I'm glad my dad.
Picture nursing, you know that. Approval minutes of the regular session of August 15, 2024.
I move we approve the regular session minutes from August 15th, 2024.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
City managers report.
So council, I'm just gonna flip through this. It's actually 10 pages long for this month, so everybody in the city has been really busy. There's a lot of progress happening in our city parks. The pickleball grand opening event had over 50 people in attendance. The splash zone has closed. Concerts have had larger attendance over the past month, which is great, and there's a couple of free concerts coming up. The mini golf hosted its first golf night, and they used glow golf balls and neon lights to guide customers. There was National Night Out. I want to take a second to thank all the first responders, both police and fire, for coming out, and everyone else that helped, donated, or attended. That was another great success for the city. Salem University students came back to school in late August, and they started to play again for practice. The Fall Pony League picked up. The indoor facilities has rentals coming in, and Parks has just been very busy, so that's great for the city. Code enforcement, there's a number of things happening with demos and pre-construction meetings, taking down houses, moving forward with the POTA, helping with public works issues, and attending various meetings. I do want to draw your attention to community and economic development. So we did hire a community development person. She also does our grants, and we have an economic developer on contract. If you look at the list that is currently being worked on, there's some great initiatives being started. So there's a downtown beautification draft. We've upped our community engagement. We have a number of economic development initiatives going on. We've also organized all our grant applications and are applying for new grants. We have a historic preservation project for downtown property currently being worked on. We also are applying for more funding for more dilapidated properties in Clarksburg. We also are looking into the LEAD program in conjunction with our opioid funding. We are looking for funding sources for other approved arts, monuments, and city-approved initiatives. We've supported 2 nonprofit housing development organizations. We're working on an internship and higher education initiative. And Dr. Nicholson is also going to be presenting in a couple of conferences, the Veterans National Conference in October, the DoD Conference in October, and then GovCon Giants in October and November. So these are great events to get the city's name out there and what we're working on. The finance department has been busy. They've collected over $500,000 of B&O tax and $26,000 of hotel tax, and you can see they're working hard on getting those fees to come into the city. Kim also wanted to present a thank you to all the volunteers that helped during the West Virginia Heritage Festival in Jackson Square, and the collections that came from that festival. And the state auditor's office placed the city of Clarksburg on a list, making us available for an audit by CPA firms for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 and June 30th, 2025. The fire department had a total of 264 calls and did over 900 hours of training, and those Knox boxes that council approved have been installed in the fire apparatuses, so thank you, council, for that. The Clarksburg Police Department responded to 2,100 calls for service in the month of August. The Black Heritage Festival will take place on September 6th to 8th in downtown, and there's a reminder which streets are closed. And the Pepperoni Roll 5K race is held in September as well. On to Public Works. I'm not going to read it all. They have more than a page long of everything they've done over the summer, but they've been very busy with sewer calls, line replacements, cleaning up, filling cracks in the sidewalks, securing vacant properties, patching potholes, cleaning up after all the festivals, so I want to thank them as well. The RG has a number of events in the upcoming month, and if you want to get more information on the list, you go to www.therobinsongrand.com. And of course, my favorite subject is the wastewater treatment plant. There was no violations to report in August. They are continuing tank inspections and continuing the permit renewal process that is due in November. And as always, a reminder to the public, please do not flush baby wipes down the drains. They do not dissolve and can cause blockages in the sewer line as well as damage to the pumps.
No unfinished business, new business. Consideration of an ordinance of the city of Clarksburg to amend section 745.28, contracting to add subsection B regarding line item segregation of certain projects for economic and infrastructure development.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Aye.
All of them.
Go ahead.
Wayne? Councilman York?
Looking at this ordinance, the only changes that I would like to see in this, and maybe I'll give other council members a chance to speak on it before I, before I make a motion to amend it, is currently in subsection B, section B, subsection 1, it states that for any contracting or construction project within the city that is expected to cost $1 million or more than any business and occupation tax paid by the contractors and subcontractors pursuant to section 745.28A shall be utilized for economic development and infrastructure development. I have no problem with that. My problem is, my concern is that we're diverting these B&O taxes on a construction project, which is usually about 2%, that you get on a project, the city gets back. And we're putting it in one account to spend for economic development and infrastructure development. What I would like to see is that half of the project cost, because sometimes, the B&O tax may not be 2%, for each project. If there's an incentive there, maybe 1%. So I think a fair compromise with this is to have it in two separate line items, economic development in one line item or one account, and infrastructure in another account. And I would like that infrastructure account to be a rainy day escrow account just for infrastructure only. And 1% or half of the B&O tax that we get from the project goes into economic development account, and the other half goes into this infrastructure rainy day escrow account. That way, we're not, because I may be heavy-handed in infrastructure, which I usually am, but say if you have a council 5 years from now, and I'm not on this council, and they're maybe heavy-handed in economic development, and we just use all that money that's in this economic development and infrastructure account together for economic development, then we're not helping infrastructure, and vice versa. So I think it's a fair compromise, to do, any project that's over, a construction project that's over $1 million that we get B&O from, that half of that B&O tax we get be put into economic development in a separate account, and an infrastructure rainy day escrow account that's separate from economic development. I'll let other council members speak on it, before I make my motion to amend that. So.
Anyone else?
Not to his point, I just had other general comments. Should I hear?
Go ahead.
So I guess my first question is in the budget that was approved, what ramification is this going to have on the budget for the dollar amount that was already forecasted and budgeted on those construction being no taxes?
So by and large, when I looked, there hasn't been, in the last few years that I can find, any projects over $1 million that I saw. So the impact would be minimal. What I want to ensure is that when those big projects come in, for instance, the federal building that's being renovated is between a $50 and $75 million renovation. It is 3 to 4 years long, and for the sake of transparency for all the residents and businesses in the city, I think that's a great way to reinvest into the city. So by putting that, we knew that project was upcoming. We haven't budgeted for it in the current budget or previous budgets. We can allot that off to the side and reinvest in Clarksburg and grow the city and move the city forward.
And then also, there's nothing in here that I see how it's gonna be dispersed or the types of projects. I mean, infrastructure, obviously, economic development, very, very general. But
It would have to come to council if it's above my threshold.
well, but regardless, what it brings me to my last point is I'd like to add on subsection B, I would add a number 4. And I would request that any funds generated from this subsection shall require authorization from the city council.
No matter what the
No
amount?
matter what the
I
amount,
don't-
because any project over $1 million, there's being, and the taxes are going into these two accounts. And obviously, council approves the budget, but it's the same as even in the sales tax. Those have to be also approved by council per the ordinance. But I would prefer that if we're creating a separate line item for these two accounts, one for economic development and one for infrastructure, that excuse me?
Nothing.
Oh. So, so if anything were to come of that, I think it should just come back in front of council for approval.
I would just like to tell council, I have spending limits for a reason. I don't abuse those spending limits, so I don't agree. I can't come to council for $1,000 expenditure out of that account. That is completely unreasonable. But the limits that I have are reasonable. I believe it's $15,000 is my threshold. You're talking about an account from that $75 million renovation is probably gonna be $750,000. My math may be off, but it's gonna be in the hundreds of thousands. I don't believe that it's necessary for me to come if I'm gonna spend $1,000 or $1,500 to council. That's just gonna drag progress.
So is that the only project we're forecasting? Is that?
There's that project that we know about. There's a couple other things in the works, but like the repaving of Pike and Main, the contractors that are brought in, that's all BNO generating. And that would go into this fund as well. Any of those larger type things, and I just think it's a great, transparent process, and this would be up to the city manager report on what that money is being spent on. I would say 95% of what that money is being spent on is gonna end up on council's desk anyway, because infrastructure, when we have a sinkhole, most of them that, since I've been here, are $30,000, $50,000, $80,000. If we need that funds, it's gonna come to council.
I don't disagree. I just like to still have it under the purview of council and make sure that it's authorized. You know, and I'm not saying that you're not transparent, you're not responsible, but again, this is for the future, as you stated. So, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, we don't know what the future of that seat holds. And I think, it's to be prudent of council just to be watching out for the public funds.
Well, I've stated I don't agree. I have limits for a reason, but again, it's up to the will of council to do that. But again, if there's limits established by ordinance, I follow my limits established by ordinance.
And again, I agree, and I 100% agree with the limits that you have. But these are our new accounts that we're setting up, and I just think we just should be, prudent of public funds for these new accounts. I mean, as Councilman Worth stated, right now, this council, I think, is kind of heavy-handed, and our priority is probably infrastructure, and to get them a lot of things done, but again, we can't tell you what the future is for the future council.
Anyone else?
You've already done, or Councilman
Well,
Howard?
I would like to make a motion to amend,
I still had.
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Jerry.
I was
I'm
just
sorry.
asking, so what about like past projects? Like, I know there's discussion on, there's things that like the FBI has done construction-wise that we haven't been able to get money from. So if any past projects that would just fall under that too?
Probably not. This is from the date this is passed. If it goes forward, it'd be from that date forward. However, that is something else I'm working on, and I will update council as that comes forward.
And also, I want to say is, we can make amendments now, but we also have a second reading, is that correct?
Yes.
To make any amendments? I'm not sure exactly, Martin, you said, or Councilman Howe, you said $1,000, what was exactly?
No, he wants to
I understand.
split it 50%. Sometimes we give
That's
a
what
break.
Councilman Worth said, I mean, what did Councilman Howe say?
I just said, any funds generated from this subsection shall require authorization from city council. And all I'm stating is, it stays in line with the 1% sales and use tax, which is also funds that come to the city. If there's things that want to be budgeted, it's budgeted. City manager has the recommendations, and when she sets forth the budget for council to approve, we still review the budget, examine the budget, have conversations about it, discussions, and at that point in time, we either decide yea or nay on those line items. I don't find this any different, and I think it's a good idea. I think back in 2000, I hate to guess, 8, 9, that era, somewhere in there, and that, I think we had a council member then that directed all funds over $1 million in being their tax go to rainy day fund, and that's what we did. And you don't have the purview there to go spend the rainy day fund. It has to come in front of council. So to me, I just think we're staying consistent by just adding that. So I don't think it's not a knock against you. I'm just adding something to stay consistent with some other things that we've done.
So how would this look when we're doing like the budget sessions, when it comes to this money? I mean, would we?
Well, let's say you had another, on the end of Emily Drive, and I'm not saying there's land there, but say there was land there and someone's gonna come in and put a big business there, was gonna employ 300 people or 500 people. And they asked us to pay for half of their sewer line. That could come out of this.
So I mean, when we do the budget, you would show that
Right.
you're requesting that money, that line
Yeah.
item to be created, or that project to come out of that.
My concern with taking away all the limits, if there's something to do with marketing, that's gonna cost $1,500. I need the authority and the autonomy to do that without waiting 2 weeks for the next council meeting and explaining every little thing we're doing. I have a job, I'm doing my job, I need the leeway to do my job.
But just to clarify, we're not taking away your autonomy from designating funds and making those decisions out of the general fund. I mean, you still have 18 million to designate freely for $1,500 marketing. I mean, that's I don't think it takes really anything away from you. These are new accounts that we're setting up to take the money, the funds from B&O tax construction, over $1 million, and place into these new funds. And I think that's why we're elected, is to help make those decisions and.
You are above $15,000. That there's thresholds by an ordinance for a reason.
Again, what I'll clearly say for the third time is that this is staying consistent with other ordinances in place for other funds. And again, I would love to have a heads up on this as well. I would have definitely have made these comments in a work session or things such as that but I never heard that we were going to do this, or I would have gave that recommendation. But again, it's not that I'm not for it, just my comments.
Mr. Deans?
Yeah, yeah, so I just want to make sure that I understand this correctly. If we were going to use, if we adopted Councilman Howe's amendment, and we wanted to spend $10,000 out of this account, it would require only a resolution, correct? Which could be done on, or
It would
would it
require a budget revision.
Okay. And what is the timeline on a budget revision?
Kim?
It can be done in one meeting.
We could do it under consideration
Right.
to authorize. I mean,
Right.
only we're asking a lot.
It would be a
Well, I'm-
resolution,
So it could be done in one meeting?
yes.
Okay.
And generally we do budget revisions every 3 months.
Okay. Yes, I think I voted on them.
Yeah.
So, all right, thank you.
But, and to clarify, I think, I mean, to.
Sure.
My opinion would be, this wouldn't take a budget revision to do, but clearly, if it was a consideration item to authorize X, then, and it's approved, that number just goes into the budget revision, and we receive it. Nothing different than on August 1st, when we approved 4-2 for a purchase of a tub grinder, and no one came up with a way or reasoning to fund the missing gap of $60,000. We left it up to the manager with no recommendation. So I don't think this is any different. I think it still comes back to a budget revision later on that's approved.
So let's say we have $3 million in this account when we come to the budget process. In the budget process, we could allocate $1 million to the line item that would allow you to have access to the $15,000 spending limit,
Yeah.
right? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay.
The only thing I would ask council, if you're considering doing that, which I adamantly don't agree with, that you at least put a minimum threshold on there, like 5,000, from a fund that's gonna build up significantly. I don't believe that should be an issue. I shouldn't have to come for a $1,000 purchase or a $1,500 purchase if it fits within the requirements of the ordinance.
Again, I'm just looking big picture. I mean, I didn't realize this account was gonna be used for nickel and diming, but if that's the case.
You just
then-
don't know, like, it could be 80,000, it could be something marketing for 3,000, and I don't want to hold up something if something comes up shortly. That could be economic development related. Chances are most infrastructure things are gonna be much more expensive. But some of the smaller things, if that's the will of council, I would ask that you put a reasonable limit on it.
My biggest issue, which it's always the same issue, especially with government, which it's all about efficiency. I mean, I don't know how this would change that. I think it might. I mean, I don't.
It's another line item at budget time that,
I mean, the use of it, like, you know,
Yes.
I want efficiency.
I agree.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm young and I'm just ready to get things done, but it's one thing that really is a struggle to deal with is efficiency when it comes to government. I don't want to make that more, less efficient. I don't know if this would do that or not, but if it would, I wouldn't be in favor of it.
it's
Well,
not,
I guess,
I was gonna say, in Martin's defense, it'd be efficient in the way that you're gonna have every single cent accounted for. You know, and, you know, I understand Tiffany's concerns, but at the same time, I think we are here to provide transparency. You know, I certainly don't have a problem with Mr. Howe's proposed amendment. I think it's in the best interest of all our citizens to know exactly what we're spending money on, so.
What is the proposed limit?
it was to add, in that section, add to a number 4, and to pretty much authorize or for any funds generated from this subsection shall require authorization from city council
The spending of any funds that are generated?
into these new accounts, yes. And
Well-
just in case you didn't hear, it's to keep it consistent with the other accounts such as rainy day and sales and use tax.
But won't that hinder the city manager from being able to do her job?
No, shouldn't. I because the example she gave, I mean, if she's getting a minimum request for $15,000, she already has the means and capabilities to take it out of the general fund. You have 18 million, listen, if we can't find $15,000 out of $18 million budget, maybe we should have a whole totally different discussion right now.
Well, I mean, so every time she wants to use money out of these accounts, she needs to come to city council and discuss that with us?
Well, I think these funds should, I mean, we are prioritizing these two funds for specific these uses. And if we're doing that, and that's our prerogative to do it, it was brought to us, then I think it should come back to us to what they're used for.
Regardless of the amount of the dollar, the dollar size.
Well, again, I think, I'd be hoping that we're not spending $5,000 out of these funds for marketing, out of these funds. I mean, if we're using it for economic development, I hope we're doing a bigger splash than $5,000. And you should be able to find that $5,000 out of the general fund. But she has the prerogative to do it.
Anything else, Mr. Jackson?
No, I'm good right now.
Okay. Any other council person?
So one more comment. If she takes 2,500 out of this, it require a budget revision?
Well, let's clarify though. Even if she takes it out of it the way it's written, it still requires a budget revision.
No, it doesn't.
Disagree with that, but.
It does not.
It's an expense, it's a new expense that has not been authorized by council. It needs to be put in there that what it was done with it.
Is this true, Kim?
If there's no budget for it, yes.
And right now, there's not a budget for it.
But if it's labeled infrastructure, or if it's labeled economic development, if it falls under one of those two categories, that's why they're labeled this way. So it doesn't require that if it's below the threshold.
Any other discussion?
If there isn't, I'm just going to make my motion to amend Section B, subsection 1, to any contracting or construction project within the city that is expected to cost $1 million or more, then any of the business and occupation taxes paid by the contractors and subcontractors pursuant to section 745.28, half of that B&O tax that is collected by the city goes into a separate account for economic development, and the other half goes into a separate account for infrastructure, for an infrastructure, rainy day infrastructure escrow account. That's my motion to amend it. I think that cleans it up. It's separate. It clearly, clearly states there'll be two separate accounts, and that half the B&O tax that we collect off of any of these construction projects will go into economic development in that separate account, and the other half will go into infrastructure. And that's a motion. That's my motion.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Marsh, you see any problems with that?
No,
Okay.
I talked to Mr. Worth beforehand,
Okay.
and we'll update. I generally understand bullet points. I'll update and clean it up a little bit, and it'll be on the next agenda. But since it's an amendment, you can vote on it permanently on the next agenda.
I can't see over here.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No,
No.
no,
Brian Deans,
Yes.
Martin Howe,
No.
Will Hyman,
Aye.
Mark Jackson,
no,
Wayne Worth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Ripple,
Yes.
Mayor Mafferty.
No.
Consideration of a resolution.
No.
That was just the amendment.
I'm sorry.
Just a
We gotta
minute.
go
Okay.
back to the.
Now, Councilman Howe, I believe, had a motion to amend.
Yes, thank you. I would like to amend that motion to add subsection 4, for any funds generated from this subsection shall require authorization from city council.
I have a point of inquiry, real quick. Did that motion pass or fail?
Passed.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Carry on.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Discussion. Since this is the first reading and we can make another, the next reading, right?
This is just your motion to amend.
No, I know, but we can make the same motion to amend next week next meeting, correct? Okay.
It probably doesn't substantially change it, so yeah, you probably could in that situation. I like hiding behind that.
Point of order on this?
Chief, good to see you.
I misunderstood.
Okay, we have a motion and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Nay.
Ryan Deems,
Yes.
Martin Howe,
Yes.
Will Hyman.
Yes.
Mark Jackson,
No.
Wayne Worth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Riffle,
No.
Mayor Michael J.
Yes.
Motion
Motion carries.
Motion to amend carries.
Motion to amend, now to vote on the motion as amended.
Right. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move.
I think we already had a motion in a
No.
second.
No, this is the
We gotta go back to the
motion to
original
the
item.
amendment.
Oh, it's comprehensive now?
I will, let's see, where are we at here? I'm sorry. I will, motion to, consider a resolution to the city council of the city of Clarksburg authorizing application. I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong, gee, let's see. Here we are, there, thank you, Wayne.
Hey,
Consideration of an ordinance of the city of Clarksburg to amend section 745.28, contracting to add subsection B regarding line item segregation of certain projects for economic and infrastructure development as amended. Thank you.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Ryan Deems,
Yes.
Martin Howe,
Yes.
Will Hyman,
Yes.
Mark Jackson,
Yes.
Wayne Worth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Riffle,
Yes.
Mayor Michael J.
Yes.
Mark.
It was hard to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a time delay.
Motion passed.
Can we go to B, please?
Yeah. Consideration of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clarksburg authorizing application of grant funds to the West Virginia Department of Transportation, West Virginia Division of Motor Vehicles for a 2025 highway safety grant in the amount of $466,000, $466,768.
Madam Clerk, I move we consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Clarksburg authorizing the application of grant funds to the West Virginia Department of Transportation, West Virginia Division of Motor Vehicles for a 2025 highway safety grant in the amount of $466,768.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of a resolution approving amendment to Rule 4.05 of the Rules and Regulations of the Police Civil Service Commission of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Chief, can you please tell us what 4.05 currently is? Where is it?
They changed the state code on the age requirements for new applicants. Where it used to be, you had to be 18 to 40 years old. There's no top end on, so you can be 68 and still apply as a new applicant. That was changed under the state code for deputy sheriffs and city police.
Thank you.
There you go, Martin. You passed the agility test.
They just didn't tell us.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
What'd you say, Mark?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. Consideration of the approval of the acceptance of an assistance to firefighters grant in the amount of $324,342.85 for with a match of $16,217.15 for a total of $340,560 for the purchase of air packs and cylinders.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Discussion.
Okay? Go ahead.
Madam City Manager, can you explain to us, we passed an ordinance, I believe it was last week, a resolution that we approved, I think, $200-some-odd-thousand for air packs. What is the overage going to be spent on?
So this is a different grant, and this was purchased a different way. This is the AFG grant that we applied for air packs, cylinders, and I believe radios are in there as well. And our match, I believe, is 5% of that. This gets the fire department to this about 65% coverage for air packs. So to get the rest of the fire department where they need to be with air packs, we'll continue to apply for grants. And then the hope is, after they're fully up to the threshold that they need for air packs, we can come up with a air pack replacement program through the budget and through grant funding to keep them where they need for their equipment.
Okay.
Is that it? You good?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Consideration of the approval of asbestos abatement and demolition of structures located at 649 Mulberry Avenue and 308 Point Street.
So moved. Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you include that amount, please?
Yes, $46,500.
And council, please note, there was a slight adjustment. The price quote was lowered to $1,500 for this.
Okay. So 45,000.
This is the new total. It was higher
Oh, this
before.
is the,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Council comments?
We got a petition to award
Can I
bid,
do
don't we?
council comments?
Yeah. Council comments. Mr. Howe?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So, since that item was on the agenda, it was voted on 3 different times with the amendments and the conclusion. I'll go back to the last meeting. I think I added on to Wayne's request, but I haven't received it yet, but it really goes into play with this discussion today, which would have been helpful for me personally, was the information on the B&O tax on construction projects. I think I requested a list to date for this year. I don't know if it's still coming or how long it will
I will
be.
check when finance will have that ready.
And then, can we get an update on the contribution that we approved in the budget and had some discussion about regarding the Waldomore employee, where that is? I think the library director, I believe it was she told it was approved, and has the funds been provided to the library for the Waldomore employee?
So when we had our budget discussions, we had put it in the budget, we had said we wanted to meet with the library to see what their, on a work session, to see what their plans going forward before we expend that money. And unfortunately, council's schedules have conflicted. The next available work session will be the second Thursday in October. However, if council wants me to go forward and release that money, I will go and do that. That's the will of council.
Personally, I would prefer it. I think we're doing an injustice if it's, the new fiscal year started in July, we're now in September, we're not gonna potentially even discuss it if the schedules don't conflict till October. It'll be November time they get a penny, and we're adamant that the Baltimore needs to be up and running and stuff, and, you know, I think we should move forward with it, but that's up to the rest of the council.
Anybody have any comment on it?
I agree.
You can't vote, right?
No.
No, I'm just taking a straw poll, but I think it's.
Okay.
I mean, it was budgeted, right?
Yeah, it was
So it was
budgeted, but when we
budgeted for
talked
them.
about it in our budget sessions, council decided before they sent that money, they wanted to understand what it was and meet with the board because there, I don't wanna say issues, but we wanted to have a better relationship with the board. That's what we talked about, that's why it hasn't been released. If council changes their mind, I'm fine with that, but that was what was discussed.
Yeah, we requested a work session to have them come here and talk. And I think they didn't show up for one. The last one we had on their agenda, I think they didn't show up, right?
I don't remember
Well, someone probably needs
exactly.
to call their board and say, do you want your money?
So, like, again, if council wants me to release that money, that's fine, we can meet with the board after, if council still wants to meet with the board.
I mean, we already budgeted for it, so it should go with them. Yeah.
Thank you. Then also, back on August 1st, and I briefly mentioned in my comments on the long discussion we had regarding the B&O tax construction. On August 1st, we approved the tub grinder 4-2 with Councilman Hyman and myself voting against as a dissenting vote for obviously two different reasons, but again, I think that one, mine was based upon not receiving a recommendation, but also the funds, not knowing where we're going to recoup or provide for that void of the funds that were needed to make that final purchase. So I don't know if you and the finance director came up to where that funds were coming from, because I think we're 42 or 60,000 short, if my memory
Right.
is right. So
We did have a plan, I thought, at that meeting.
Yeah,
I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry. And
I
can't
believe it
recall.
was coming from ARPA funds. Was it not? But in what we submitted to council, it listed where that was coming from.
okay, I thought it came up short still, and so I could be mistaken.
We can get that
Wouldn't be
information.
my first time.
I may have confused you.
We'll send that information
Okay.
out again.
All right, appreciate it. And I think that's it. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate your presence here.
Mr. Jackson?
I would just like to say thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. Sorry I couldn't be there with you in person. Keep in mind that the West Virginia Black Heritage Festival is this weekend. Hope everybody had a good time last weekend at the Italian Heritage Festival. So another weekend of fun in Clarksburg. Come on out and enjoy the fun. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Worth?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out too, voicing your concerns about, a couple of those properties. I'm glad we were able to pass that tonight and, and look forward to seeing those come down. I'm not going to really rehash, the discussion we had on item A because, it's just going to be, I think we all heard what we thought on that. At the end of the day, I just, I think that if you're gonna put money into something, you're gonna be devoted to something, you can't really be devoted to two at the same time, that are totally, different. And so that's why I made the motion to amend that. The other thing is too, I tell you what, I really just want to give our community kudos and the Italian Heritage Festival and their committee, for all the hard work to put on a world-class festival. And the reason why I say that is because I travel the state every weekend. I go to fairs and festivals every weekend. I go to different counties. I try to see, all the great things that all our municipalities are doing and that they celebrate. And I'm going to tell you, our Italian Heritage Festival is probably the best street festival I have ever seen in the state. I think it's probably maybe one step above the regatta, down in Charleston. Just the atmosphere, but that takes a lot of hard work, and it's not just the festival that spends all year to try to plan that and to raise the money for that, to bring Journey. That's got to be probably 6 figures to bring someone like that here. It's our public works that work overtime to set all that up. I see our superintendent of public works, Johnny Workman. He's even in the bucket truck hanging up the flags and stuff. And that's great to see that sort of leadership. from everyone. And it's the one thing that I think, in our city, and also the Black Heritage Festival is the same way. The Black Heritage Festival Committee, they work hard all year round too. These are the two main festivals in our city that really brings visitors. And I really think that we should, really think about it, maybe as a council in the future, maybe in the budget, to see how we could help even more with that. Like I said, this was a complete team effort that what you saw out there. There's thousands of people out in the streets, or hundreds of people. So just want to give kudos to that. And that's really all I got to say, because, I like to end my council comments on a positive note, so thank you.
It's a miracle. Councilman Deems.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Phil, I have a couple of questions about things we've talked about on previous meetings. Do we have any update on the property on East Main Street that came to council, I believe the first meeting in August?
That moved to the LRA?
No, the building that we weren't sure about, it's right across from, next to the funeral home, on the corner of Main and Carr. The house, yes. Do we have any update on that?
Jason, can you provide the update on where we are in that process?
We're working through the legal side of that,
Okay.
trying to figure out if we can find any investors that would be willing to invest in the property, and also trying to weigh options to move elsewhere with the property. So I think we're all in agreement that the historical value of the house is something fairly significant, but at the same time, we want to get it back up to where it needs to be, and including neighborhood improvements.
Sure. Do we have a timeline on that?
We don't have a timeline on that, no. I know we've talked internally about trying to come up with a solution as quickly as possible. We've been working on it. I can't say day in and day out, but it has come up every week since,
Sure.
at least once or twice a week.
Okay. Yeah. I know we're getting close to winter, and I'm sure that there are probably some concerns about people squatting in the structure and that kind of stuff. So I understand things take time. Thank you for your work on it.
On a positive note, we do have a second round of demolition that will get sent to the asbestos contractor tomorrow.
Okay.
And there's still a chance that if we have to demo the house, that it could be added into that list at a later time.
Okay. Thank you. The other thing, have there been any internal discussions about the noise ordinance suggestion from the owners of the Gore, I'm sorry. I always mess those up. The Gore building.
It's something that we will be discussing.
Okay. And is that gonna be internally and then come to council?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I think we had lively debate tonight, which is good. I don't think we need to always just line up here and vote yes or no without people knowing what we think, or seeing us having really an in-depth discussion. I will say, though, that's probably not a popular opinion. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to government, and I like to see that discussion side. So probably in the minority on that one. But Mr. Fox, thank you for coming and speaking and sending that email today. As I said in the email, we have to do what we can as a city to make sure that we improve the lives of not only the people who live here, but the people who might want to move here and invest in our community and invest their lives here. Now on the positive side of things, this is a great time of year with all of the festivals. Wish the weather would have been a little bit better for the Italian Heritage Festival. And congratulations again to Vice Mayor Riffle's son. How many years until he can run for your seat on city council?
I'll try to talk him out of it in 15 years.
Okay, yeah. But, I'm, all joking aside, I'm glad that you did that. I think one of the things that we should focus on as a council is really promoting the good things that are happening in our community, in our schools. I know there's a lot of anxiety or just general harshness about the education system, and I'm biased. I'm a teacher, but there's a lot of good things happening in our schools. The kids are okay. The kids are all right. The future generations are going to be good, and hopefully we can work to keep them here and have something for them to do. And so kind of in that light, I'd like to congratulate both of the Clarksburg high schools for victories last Friday, Thursday and Friday. Liberty first because I'm a Liberty grad, and we've got another great weekend of high school football, so please go support those schools. The Liberty game, even though they're the away team, they're at Height Field this weekend. So if you're someone like me who went to a lot of football games at Height Field, it's an exciting time. Thank you for coming out, and thank you to everyone at the city who's been doing the work behind the scenes. I know you get enough credit, and you get a lot of gripes from us to, hey, fix this, but I appreciate your time and your effort here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dean.
Yes.
Hammer?
Thanks,
Sir?
Mayor. Well, as you may know, I wasn't at the last meeting. I've had a difficult several weeks with a family member. My grandmother's been real sick, and we've been dealing with that, and I apologize for missing. I want to thank the Public Works, first responders, everybody who helped out with the Italian Heritage Festival for another amazing festival. Looking forward to the Black Heritage Festival next weekend, and having a good time, and come on out, and we'll do it again next time. Thanks. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Riffle.
I'll be quick. But I want to echo everybody's sentiments on our public works and first responders and Italian Heritage Festival. It's great every year. It's great this year, but it takes a lot of work. Thursday before, weeks and months before preparation, but then you saw everybody out on the streets Thursday working together. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of that. To continue with the theme of tonight, family affair with my family, I want to give a, I want to give a shout out to my mom. She had a heart attack, and she's doing better. She watches every meeting. Every time after she called me play-by-play, she'll say, that was a good idea by Councilman Hyman, or what was Wayne thinking, or like she'd say something like that.
You're always asking that.
But she calls it, and she listens to it, and she gives me her comments, and she doesn't hold back. She'll tell me when I talk too much, when I don't look up, when I don't have good posture. My dad also does that. So I always get it after. Not the public does it. My family, they come after me, so they tell me. So prayers, continue good recovery for her. Where'd my son go? Is anybody watching?
He's running the city.
He's running the city. And everybody come out for the Black Heritage Festival. Should be a great time too, and that's all I got.
Thank you. My turn. See something, say something, call 911, please. Black Heritage Festival this weekend, please attend. Little bad news, I spoke with Earl Gaskins about the 2nd Street overpass. It's a long way away, folks. Unfortunately, it's looking to be late October of 2025. So don't shoot the messenger here, I wasn't happy either. Other than that, I'm gonna call a couple guys out here. I've asked council to wear ties, and nobody, some people just aren't to that point, so now I don't care what the hell you wear. You wanna come in a Speedo, come. And with that, thank everybody, have a nice weekend. call for an adjournment. Oh, sorry.
Mr. Mayor, you guys so excited to see me in a Speedo.
I guess.
Pursuant to Chapter 6, Article 9A, Section 4 of the West Virginia Code, I move that council adjourn into executive session to discuss legal matters and personnel matters, and the following persons be present: mayor and members of council, city manager, city attorney, and city clerk.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Executive session.
Hey Jared, you called me about my posture too?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
From the gallery.